Hello everyone, we had one of the biggest patches in Marvel Snap to ever come to the game. With it came several big balance changes, or one big balance change, two somewhat small ones, and then it also came with the release of a brand new game mode, Conquest. Conquest is aimed at being a more competitive type of competition where you verse your opponent in a battle mode style match-off, which allows for some additional strategy to find its way in. You'll notice that in the gameplay in my overlay, there is now an additional tracker down below my webcam, and that is going to be the opponent's cards. Deck trackers like untapped.gg will track the opponent's cards over the course of the entire battle, and so once they show you a card once, you will know that they have that built into their deck moving forward, and so you can start formulating a better strategy of how to beat whatever deck they're running. If you want to download the tracker and you don't have it already, my affiliate link is in the description below. It's available for both Steam and Android. And so moving on to the deck that we're going to be using today, we're going to be using a DAZZLER Patriot build. DAZZLER went from a 4-cost, 3-power with the ability, if you have 4 cards in each location, get +6 power. Now it has been broken down and it's a little bit easier to manage because now it has the ongoing +2 power for each location that's full on your side. So if there's something like Space Throne, you can play 1 card there and you get the +2 power onto your DAZZLER. So she's a little bit more flexible. It's not an all or nothing type of card. It is much easier to get +4 power. In certain decks, you will very often be capping 2 or even 3 of your locations, allowing you to more easily access that power level. And with the reduced cost, she is that much easier to slot into on curve. So I think we'll see a little bit more experimentation with DAZZLER, especially in like Silver Surfer builds and what we're covering today, a Patriot build. It's very similar to the Iron Lad build, where you have the Invisible Woman to kind of hide some of your cards. It also protects them from counter cards like Enchantress, so that you can drop your Patriot early and know that it is protected from any kind of counterplay. This is also fantastic for Conquest mode because if it's one of the earlier rounds, you can use Invisible Woman, play your cards still on curve, get some information about what your opponent is running, and then if you need to, you can retreat out for 1. They still don't know much information about what kind of deck you're running other than you have an Invisible Woman, where you'll probably know at least half of the opponent's deck by that point. This version does look to cut some of the higher end cards, so there are some versions that run a Doctor Doom, they run an Onslaught, they run an Iron Man, and all of those are fine, especially in an Iron Lad build where you can dig deeper into your deck more often. But with this one and with cutting that piece, we wanted to lower the curve, make sure we had plenty of cards that can go wide so that we can more consistently and more realistically trigger DAZZLER more often. And so for today's gameplay video, instead of doing it on ladder like we normally do, we are going to be jumping straight into a silver tier Conquest battle to try out our new deck, to try out the new DAZZLER in a fun and competitive way. Thank you guys as always for being here. Let's go ahead and jump on in. All right, so first up we have Free Light, and you'll notice a small change to the overlay. I am now in the middle. Hello. And then the opponent's cards are actually tracked down here with the untapped deck tracker. And over the course of a battle, that becomes more and more important because then you'll be able to know what to anticipate if they have a counter to what you're playing, because it'll track it over the entire battle. So the Ant-Man comes down. We do get our Invisible Woman here, which is going to be pretty good. We can hide our Patriot. We can hide maybe a Debris. We can hide DAZZLER, Ultron. All kinds of fantastic cards. Wait, hold on a minute. Now they could be, I assume that they're going to change this location. That is what, that is the assumption that I'm making. There's no way that they just played this outright, right? No, couldn't be. All right, I'm going to go ahead and play the rock because we do have it. I'm not going to snap just yet. They're running. Okay, yeah, there comes the Storm. So the Ant-Man, Luke Cage, and Storm. I don't know of a meta deck that has those cards combined together. Let's go with Shocker. We're going to go Rock. We do have Debris to fill up that last location. We have it buffed with Patriot. If we get Mystique, then we can also play that here. And then maybe we can overcome whatever they play in this lane. So if it wasn't for the Ant-Man, I would think Cerebro 2. Hold on, is that music kind of loud? Adjust that? I'll adjust that after this game. So they do have Daredevil here, unfortunately. So if we did something like Shang-Chi, which I would typically want to do, they would know about it. I think I'm going to do Debris here. I don't know. The Daredevil gives me pause, gives me concern. And so a lot of times in battle mode, the first couple of battles is feeling out what your opponent has. And so every battle from here on out, we'll know that they have the Storm, the Luke Cage, the Daredevil. So we're getting as much information as we possibly can here. Now they do have the Gamora. We have the Shang-Chi, which is going to be beautiful at taking that one back in our favor. And then we also have the Mr. Sinister. So I think that's what we're going to do here, is we're going to do a Shang-Chi to swing this one back. We do the Mr. Sinister. It will get the Sinister clone. These are all going to be buffed up by 2. We're feeling... how confident are we feeling? We're feeling pretty confident. I'm going to go ahead and snap into it. I don't want them to know that we have the Patriot unless they pay for it. And so we're going to push our advantage more often than we do normally in just a normal ranked battle. So let's go ahead and take the 1 and we'll jump over into the next one. All right. And so now the first location is Monster Metropolis, which, seeing everything that they have, a Gamora is going to be pretty big. But I think if we hide something like Shang-Chi, we hide an Ultron, we get some pretty good value out of it. They also have debris that we can use a couple of times in the cloning vats, which I like. I think we're going to do Invisible Woman to the left. We know right now, or we haven't seen an Enchantress anyways. Now, if they do have one, that's fine. We have the Invisible Woman to protect our cards. But now we get the new reduced cost Dazzler, which is kind of what I wanted to build this deck around. We can use Dazzler, and the more locations we have capped out, the better it's going to be, the better she's going to be. Let's go ahead and hide a Patriot for now. And then next turn, depending on where they play, we'll be able to adjust. So the Ant-Man comes down. We do know that they have Storm somewhere in their deck, so they didn't get to play on curve really well here. And so let's do the debris. I'm going to do debris, and I'm going to clone a Misty Knight here. We're going to snap into it. One additional debris is going to make sure that this is completely capped. Which maybe next turn we just like hide a Shang-Chi. Maybe we do that anyways. I like the idea of hiding the Shang-Chi before the Daredevil read comes down. That way they're not going to know that it's coming. And so we are going to hide the Shang-Chi and see if maybe we can swing that one with just that back in our favor. They have the Luke Cage. They have a couple of Ant-Men here. Luke Cage is going to be great for them in the negative zone, unfortunately for us. So we're going to have to fight for these 2 locations. Okay, so they do have the Professor X in their deck. I thought they might. And so this is going to be one that we end up retreating because we're at a disadvantage with everything that we play here. And so let's go ahead and we'll retreat out. We'll take the 2 cube loss. It's a hit, but it's not as bad as a hit for 4. And we know that Professor X is in the works. So this is a very control-heavy build, which we do have some little bits of advantage against. Being able to go wide, being able to buff cards after the fact. Negative zone with a Luke Cage build was just too much for us. Like we couldn't even attempt to overcome that. And so going into round 3, Nova Roma gives us an additional draw. That's fantastic. We have our Patriot, we have our Mystique. Let's go ahead and do the Misty Knight. We're going to play early and often and see what we can get on the board. If we can at least contest all 3 locations somewhat, then a Professor X, a Storm is not going to be as beneficial for him. And so I am going to go ahead and play the Squirrel Girl. We do have the Dazzler and Mystique, so maybe we lean towards that. That is a +6 power to those cards if that is what we end up going with. Monster Metropolis comes back down here. Unfortunate for us. They could have Enchantress, they could have counter cards, but we just don't know for sure. Since we don't know, we're going to go ahead and play our Patriot. That is the first time that we have announced to them that we have Patriot. Otherwise, they probably could have probably gathered from what we have played. They didn't know for absolute sure. And they also have a Juggernaut, so like the Storm Juggernaut combo is decent for them. I'm going to go ahead and snap into it. I want to put the pressure on them, and right now they don't have a lot of their early game cards, so they don't have the Ant-Man on the board. They don't have the Nebula to continue to scale, and they didn't have the Storm on 3, which I think is a big part of their kind of lockdown style of deck. And so we could duplicate the Patriot with our Mystique. I think I'm going to go with a little bit of Flog instead, We can then do Blue Marvel on 5. We can copy that with the Mystique for a little bit of additional reach that they may not be anticipating. And so now we have the Storm come down on 4, which is definitely not ideal for them. They can see what we're going to play here. All right, so we're going to let them know that we have the Dazzler, we have the Mr. Sinister, we have Initiative, so even if they tried like a Professor X lock, it's not going to go through here. That will leave only 1 token in this middle location to be buffed up by the Patriot, but we have Blue Marvel to lean in further. Ooh, they may have just completely capped our board out, though, with the Professor X. Spider-Man comes down. So they've won here, but can they win in this lane as well? A Doctor Doom would be big. An Enchantress... I assume one of their cards, Enchantress, would take out +4. I think we're going to risk it. They could have Enchantress, which would take out this location, make this a little bit harder for us to overcome. Just a Chavez is not going to do it. A Doctor Doom definitely would, but I think I'm going to risk it here. The Doctor Doom does come down. It ties us in mid. We lose the right by 6. Oh my gosh, they did their math wrong. We will take a slight miscalculation where we can. I'm glad we stayed and gambled for it. They did have me sweating a little bit. We will take it. Let's go ahead and jump over into our next opponent's match. All right, our second opponent is Chubs, and I think they're a human player. There was a little bit of uncertainty whenever the mode first launched. We were facing some bots. I think they have since then figured it out, but we are going against Chubs. Let's see if we can hold this one down. The Fisk Tower location is going to be dangerous for any cards that move, but we have some really good coverage already. We have the Invisible Woman, we have the Patriot, the Dazzler, Blue Marvel. If we want to, we can hide those behind the Invisible Woman lane. That way it comes as a surprise factor. We continue to get information about what the opponent is running, and they won't have the luxury of that information. The only bad thing is Muir Island buffing up the cards that are over in that lane each turn, and so they're going to get some advantage there. Ooh, okay, so the Iceman, the Loot Cage, the Debris. It could be a Hazmat deck of some sort. Do we cap this lane out with a Dazzler? I would much rather get like an Ultron there. We're going to do Dazzler into Muir Island. That's going to, over time, continue to buff up. We could do something like a Squirrel Girl. Ooh, actually, we could do Squirrel Girl. No. No, we're not going to. Yeah, no. No, we're not going to do that. All right. We're going to do Dazzler into Muir Island. They could have Goblins. This could be either a Hazmat build or a Goblin build, and they have the ability to cap out our Fisk Tower lane. New York will luckily allow us to change, yeah, the Viper. So it's a junk deck. It's a Hazmat junk deck. Very interesting, Chubs. And the Hazmat already comes down. Okay, so I'm guessing there is an Odin in place somewhere. That becomes kind of difficult, especially if there was like a Wong or... Okay, so the Sarah. They could do Wong. No, they can't do Wong and Odin. The Typhoid Mary could be a pretty big burst of power for them. I think I'm going to do this. We're going to make our Dazzler fully buffed up. So she's going to get a +6 power bonus. The Blue Marvel buffs are up by 1. We have the Patriot that's going to help a lot of our rocks, a lot of our bots. Is it enough? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if it's enough or not, but we're going to try it. I'm going to stick this one out while we figure out this opponent's deck. The Carnage eats the New York location. Okay, that's fine. And then what is this, like a Sentry maybe? And you're giving up... No, it's the Typhoid Mary. Okay. So the Carnage is big. But can we out-power that? I think we win the middle location, and I think we win the right one once Patriot reveals. We're going to get a bigger bonus than they do. Patriot is going to buff us up further, and we are able to hold down the 4 cubes that they were playing aggressively with a relatively pretty big bursty deck. And we were able to hold it down, thankfully. In the silver tier, we get 4 cubes, which is a great initiative start. We also know almost their entire deck. We're missing about 4 cards from their deck, and so we can know a little bit better about how to play now. The Viper and the debris can be kind of scary, but I think we're okay. And for this one, I think we go Invisible Woman, Patriot, Mystique, and then it doesn't matter if debris comes down. It doesn't matter what happens from that point. So let's go ahead and lean all the way in. They do have the hood, so they could have hood and Viper. They send us the -3 hood, which is, I don't know why, it's just so much more demoralizing now that it's not -2. I'm okay if we get a rock in the right lane. Let's go Patriot. I want to prioritize getting the Patriot down, and then we'll adjust from there. They do go debris again, so they're sending us more rocks. I don't think they're going to have a Killmonger. Killmonger, I don't think would make a lot of sense for them, because they want the Hazmat to trigger. They want it to negatively afflict all of the cards that it can. And so I don't think that's going to be their play here. I think this turn we go Mystique. Next turn we might do something like Debris plus Shocker to kind of surprise them and hopefully cap out one of their locations. Now I know they prioritize sending junk and clearing junk, but or maybe we just do this. We can do an Ultron here, gives us a pretty big bonus. This is a relatively small lane though. Let's go ahead and shift it like this. No, you know what? We're going to shift it like this instead. That allows us to do the Ultron here. The Patriot will affect both of these. We can go to the Ultron that goes across. I think we're okay. They are playing it a little bit more cautiously now that they're down 4 cubes. And so I think going into this last turn, we may snap on them. Like they're saving their Hazmat, trying to drop initiative, but with Invisible Woman, we can hide our initiative a lot of the time, and then with them sending us -3 hood, that's also going to be an initiative drop. Go ahead and snap on them. See if we can get them to retreat for 1 instead of having to gamble all the way throughout. And then if we do get this win, they're on the ropes after that point. And so we're going to make sure to put the pressure. When we have a decent hand, we're going to put the pressure on where we can, especially when we're in a winning position. So with the Sarah, I'm thinking they probably have... They could have, I guess, a Wong and a Hazmat. A Wong and a Hazmat, and then something else could happen. It's a lot of cards. Okay, so the Sentry's big, and then what do? Do they use a Carnage over here to destroy the negative void? If so, that's pretty big. But I don't know that it's big enough. They do use a Carnage, so they clear up a lot of this negativity, and they don't go... They don't go with the Hazmat play. With our double Patriot revealing, our left lane is going to swing back in our favor, and so they're not able to overcome that amount of power. We do take the second 4-cube win. The Dazzler, it's not huge. It's not revolutionizing for this kind of build, but it is just a little bit of additional consistency driver to allow you to find ways to win. But let's go ahead and take the 4 cubes, and I think we're probably going to, if we have a halfway decent hand, we'll snap on turn 1 next game to make sure that it is the last game or last round that we play if they lose. All right, we don't have Patriot in our starting hand, but I do want to put the pressure on them. If they don't have a great hand, they're going to have to commit fully here. And then if not, they're going to have to bow out and then go down to 1 cube where the next game could be their last. And so they do accept the snap. And so this, if we win, this is the last round that we have. Peak is actually fine for us. It gives us a free Mystique, which is beautiful. I also think it hurts them quite a bit. Like their hood could be better, but everything else in their deck is a little bit worse. Sarah's fine. Typhoid Mary is almost useless. Sentry is almost useless. Debris is the same for them. Let's play Invisible Woman. We're still missing 2 of their cards that we don't know what they are, but I think we're fine. I assume probably Enchantress, honestly. With a build like this, looking at the Typhoid Mary, they probably have a backup plan in case they don't get Luke Cage and they want Typhoid Mary on the board. And so we do, we get the squirrel. So we have the token here. Let's go ahead and cap out this peak location with the Patriot, with the Mystique. And then from there, it is just, I think this is just a victory lap, honestly. The Viper cannot cap out our peak location. And so we don't get any additional junk. They do get a positive Green Goblin, which they use in a pretty cool way here, hoping that we were capped out here so that it couldn't send our way, and then Asteroid M pulls it over for them. All right, I think we go Mr. Sinister. We then do something like Blue Marvel into a Dazzler plus something on the last turn. Would be our ideal. So they do get Typhoid Mary. It didn't get hit with Their Typhoid Mary didn't get hit with the peak. And so far, we know 2 of their cards did. We have the Viper, we have the Green Goblin, and not the Luke, and not the Typhoid Mary. Now we do get Ultron, so I think instead of doing what we were going to do with the Dazzler, unless we just get something phenomenal, I think we go Blue Marvel and then Ultron, and then we call it a day. Now, if they do an Enchantress onto the Blue Marvel, then we get the extra vanilla card, which makes it really difficult for them to navigate a lot of these turns. I'm so torn. As far as power plays go, this one's decent. This one's relatively small, but so is their lane. They could use a Carnage, but we would still come out on top with the Squirrel. I think we Shang-Chi instead of the Dazzler, instead of the Ultron. Since Ultron is going to be an 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 power play. This is a 13 power play as well. But it's all in one location. Yeah, let's go with the Shang-Chi instead of the Ultron. I think either way we're probably fine, but I do like using the Shang-Chi here. That is going to bump up the rest of their lanes, but I assume they probably have a Luke Cage, maybe a Hazmat. Yeah, there's the Hazmat. There's the Luke Cage coming down. And then the Valkyrie. Ooh, the Valkyrie coming down, but that should be okay. It's kind of weird that the Valkyrie came down after the Hazmat. They should have done Valkyrie and then Hazmat. That way it would have set our cards to 3 and then reduced them. It wouldn't have made a difference in the grand scheme of things, but our overall power would have been a little bit lower had they did it in a different order. We will take the final 2 cubes. Good game, Chubs. Let's go ahead and jump over into our third and final silver opponent. Oh wait, I feel kind of silly. I thought it was 1 and then 3 and then 5. And for some reason I thought infinite was 7. So that is actually our last silver game. Gold is where it's 3 wins for the victory. With that victory, we're going to go ahead and claim our mystery variant and see what we unlock from the shop. We get a Scorpion variant, which I don't think we have one for Scorpion. But now that we've purchased it, it does say sold, so we won't be able to purchase it again. That will go down into the sold category. I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to give it a like and a comment down below. How are you guys enjoying Conquest mode so far? So far, it's been mixed for me. I didn't think there were going to be bots in the mode, making it a lot more competitive. I'm hoping that that was more of a launch or rollout type of thing where they were accidentally still enabled and that over time that goes away. Either way, I think this adds an entirely different level of strategy to your games, figuring out what type of deck your opponent's running and being able to play optimally given the cards that you know that they have built in. And so we're going to go ahead and end the video here. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. As always, this has been TLSG. Later, guys.